Hi, I'm Paul.
Hi, I'm Ellie.
And today we're talking about crappy New Year.
Am I? I don't know yet.
So, New Year, it's that time when everyone's out having a best time, celebrating, your friends, your family. We all love it, right? Well, that can be the case for some people, but a lot of the time you can be feeling quite down at New Year. Ellie, how do you feel about New Year's Eve in general?
I really look forward to it and I'm excited about New Year when it comes around, but at the same time there is a lot of pressure about what you're going to do and who you're going to spend it with, and everyone's talking about what they're doing for New Year's, and it does make you feel a lot more pressure about what you're supposed to be doing and what you're supposed to tell everyone you're going to be doing.
So it can feel like there's it feels like everyone's having a better time than you.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And I think that's quite a difficult thing to deal with, especially if you might have had a tough year. It can be a time when you start reflecting on the past year. I don't know if you've found that at New Year's.
I feel like when it comes to New Year's, everyone thinks about what they've had and what they've gone through in the past year they've had, or even every New Year you think about experiences you've had around New Year period or Christmas period. So you don't always have to think about having a new slate. You've got to remember all the things you've gone through as well.
Completely. And I think that's where it can be difficult, because when you think back on the year you've had, if it hasn't been a great one for you, you tend to focus on the negative stuff rather than the positive things that might have happened. And you forget those. And that's when you can start to feel really down at New Year.
And it's really difficult to kind of forget about it and move on, because of everyone around you seems to be in such a positive mindset. And it's extra hard when you know that everyone else isn't really relating to you and doesn't feel the same as you do.
Absolutely. And I think it's that whole, you're trying to cover up that feeling low, which is difficult when everyone's trying to celebrate and thinking, yeah, great, it's a new year, when actually you're like, I'm not really that excited about the new year. I'm finding this quite difficult. So yes, New Year can be quite crappy for a lot of people. It can be difficult to cope with. So how can we make it better?
I think you don't need to feel the pressure of doing something like going to a party or doing something that everyone else is doing. If you enjoy doing a particular thing, you can do that just because it's New Year and you're expected to go out and see a group of friends. Like, you can just do what you want.
And to be honest, even people when they do go out to big parties and stuff, they don't always have the greatest time, even though it might look like that on social media. Also, I guess as we were talking about before, it can be difficult if you're thinking about bad things that have happened in the past year. What's a way you can sort of get past that, do you think?
I've always felt that something really negative has happened through that year. I can maybe think about how the next year coming I can improve on that, or even if I physically can't do that, I can grow from it. So I've kind of grown as a person. I've grown a bit stronger from that experience.
Yeah, and I think you don't realise necessarily, if you feel like you have had a bad year, some of the things that you have achieved, even if it is just persevering with the year and getting through it.
A couple of years back, I actually I made a jar in January and then just put little slips of things that I'd achieved for that year, because you do forget by the time the year finishes all these tiny little things you've achieved, because everyone seems to think of the big things. But then if you write down the small things as the year goes on, when you read it back, it's like a real good boost, because then you remember them all again. That's
a really great idea. Another thing that can happen is people talk about New Year's resolutions, and again, if you're feeling a bit low, that's sort of not really something you're going to be wanting to think about, especially as they can be really difficult to keep.
Yeah, often I think people think of one main goal they can achieve by the end of the year, but I feel like it's better to have a lot more but smaller ones, so you can achieve them throughout the year rather than having one huge one that you want by the next January come in. And that way also it feels better when you've achieved a lot more than just one, and even if you don't achieve all of them, at least you've got 3 or 4 that you did.
Absolutely.
That's what I tend to do every year anyway.
No, that's a really good idea. And even if you don't get there with all the sort of goals that you want to achieve, it doesn't matter. You've got to be a bit kinder to yourself. Thanks so much for coming in to talk to us, Ellie, today.
Thanks for having me.
And Happy New Year, guys. See you next time. Bye.